Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
What's going on, Internet? And I've got a question for the Internet, and I've got a question for you guys.
Oh, okay.
Time released its top 100 podcast of all time. I don't know if either of you guys, if anyone has seen it.
I have not.
But I was going through the list. Now, this is the interesting thing. I say regularly that I've been podcasting for pushing 20 years. Like that's something when everybody on the show has been doing it longer than I have. So it's like I'm the baby on here when it comes to how long I've actually been doing this. But
if you're pushing 20 years, you're not the baby.
You guys are doing tech TV. I count that. You were doing this kind of tech talk stuff.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You know, going way back. But the thing is, I recognize a great number of those shows. Mm-hmm. But it's the top 100 of all time. And there's only one that I can ever say that I was subscribed to. Now, I've listened to multiple of them because it would be like somebody said, go listen to this. But there's only one out of the top 100 shows that I've ever subscribed to and listened to intentionally because it was like, I like this show and I'm going to go back to it.
Which one was it?
Code Switch.
Code Switch.
So,
yeah.
So I've subscribed to that. Now, I've listened to Recode. I've listened to... I'm not looking at the list. There's a bunch. There's 100 on the list. Oh man,
on this list, I listen to a lot of the stuff. I mean, I don't listen to 100 podcasts. That's impossible for me. But there's stuff on here where I'm like, oh, interesting. They added that.
Like I've listened to Acquired. I've listened to WTF Pod. But it's like, man, there's 100 of the top shows. And there's only one that I've ever subscribed to and listened to more than like, I've listened to multiple of these more than one time, but there's only one show that I was subscribed to that you could say I was a regular listener and looking forward to the next episode that came out, which lets you know that podcasting is not anywhere near being saturated. If the top 100, if you have somebody who's been podcasting forever that isn't listening to any of those shows, there's a lot of stuff that you can listen to.
Indeed.
What's the most promotable thing on the show right now? I want to do the social media post real quick while I got time.
What would that be?
Well,
Would
you get a mop and a robot?
And
can you work from prison?
See, you can listen to us figuring out our socials in real time if you join us before the show officially starts. These podcasts, this is a really good list. I'm actually glad you told me about this, Rob, because there's so many of them where I'm like, oh yeah, I've at least listened to that once or twice, or I listen to that every week without fail. But so many that I don't know, like home cooking, a feel-good cooking show. I'm into that. I'm not listening to that now. I'm ready. Very good.
There are a bunch on here that I've never heard of before.
Same.
Like I said, but many of them I've heard of because, well, there's a reason why they're probably considered the top 100. They're pretty popular. But I just thought it was interesting. Man, it's like 1% of these have I ever subscribed to and actually listened to on purpose.
Yeah. I will say, the Retrievals is in here. Oh, that was a good one. That was like it was a very interesting, like, I guess you would call it true crime story about like egg retrieval. I don't know. Not for everybody. Very adult.
An egg retrieval?
Like ovaries, eggs.
Oh, I thought like some guy was like stealing like eggs from like foster farms.
No.
I literally was going with Roger.
Like
You said true crime.
Drama.
I was like, yeah. You said true crime. I was like, is this like an egg heist or something?
Yeah, well, sort of actually. But no, that was a good one. But again, not for the faint of heart. It was a tough listen, but it was very good.
I lied. There's two on the list. I am subscribed to Pivot. Haven't listened to it, but I did hit the subscribe button at some point on Pivot. It's actually in my Pocket Cast. So there's two.
One of my absolute 99% invisible always. I mean, that's one of my big ones. Binge mode, which doesn't exist anymore, I don't think, but that was during Game of Thrones. I mean, I couldn't get enough of it. Bodega Boys, R.I.P. So fun. What else do we got here? I mean, The Daily, of course. Ear Hustle, one of my favorite shows. Everybody should listen to that.
36.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of good shows. I was just like, I was thinking I was going to have multiple shows that I oh yeah, I'm into that one. It's like, no, it's a couple.
It's hard. Sometimes there's too much.
Well, you only have so many hours in the day,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's
You have only so many hours in your life.
I
You
mean,
gotta do other
as
stuff.
creators, we also know that it's like I could give you 10 more shows, but it's like, how many are you going to listen to? You only,
Well, if it would have been
listen to so many.
105.
Have a good show, everybody.
Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Thursday, July 24th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
DTNS Live is made possible by you, thanks to all of you, including Paul Thiessen, Ali Sanjabi, AB Puppy, and our brand new patron, Christ.
Christ. Wow.
Nice.
Jesus has entered the building. We must be doing something right.
It is. You know what? Hey, any blessing we can get, I am on board for.
I was just going with maybe Christian, and Christ is the short name for it because they didn't want to go
Could be
with Chris.
Chris, could be Christ. We don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know who you are,
Maybe.
but we're very, very happy to have you. Every time we get a new patron, I feel like we should have a bell, ding, 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 ding. It's very exciting. So yay, Christ. Glad to have you along for the ride, and welcome to all to DTNS Live, the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little bit better. Robb Dunewood, how are you?
I'm not doing bad. We were talking in the pre-show about the top 100 podcast of all time. So I would love for anyone who's listening or watching, chime in, let us know, what is your favorite podcast or two of all time. That would be cool to come back and check in and just see where our folks are, because as I was saying, Sarah, there's 100 of them on there. There's only 2 that I've ever subscribed to.
Yeah, and
I've heard of probably over half the list, but I've only subscribed to 2 of them.
This is times 100 podcasts of all time, so your mileage may vary, of course. But when you think about, we're all obviously doing a podcast right now, although we call it a show at this point. But it can be seen as a podcast. There are so many good podcasts out there. You can't possibly, listen to 100 of them. But this is a good reminder that a lot of people are doing good stuff out there.
I mean, it's like books. At some point, there's so many great books that you really need to just dive in and select that narrow bit that you can accommodate in your life.
Well, yeah, and that applies to TV shows and movies. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times someone's like, Sarah, you were going to love the show. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'm sure you're right, but I just don't have the bandwidth.
Unless I'm a cat and I get 8 more lives after this one, I'm not going to get through all the stuff I want to watch, read, listen to again, and new shows. It's impossible.
Yeah, it is impossible. That is true. What is possible is if you're watching or listening to us live, you can name this episode. Head on over to dtns.showbot.tv to submit titles and vote on them as we go through a lot of stuff that we're about to talk about. We will check back in on the votes at the end of the show. You can submit, you can vote, you can do both. It's a lot of fun, but let's start the show, since we're talking about it, by kicking it off with a few tech stories that caught our eye today. Amazon announced new Kindle Colorsoft e-readers, a 16-gigabyte version for $250, plus a Kids bundle for $270, including a cover and a 1-year Amazon Kids Plus subscription. The Kindle Colorsoft Signature Edition is $280 and includes 32 gigs of storage, an auto-adjusting front light, and wireless charging. Despite a previous display issue, Amazon says increased reading time on color-soft devices means that people are happy about it.
When I first saw these, these color soft devices come out, I thought, what do you really want a color one? Wouldn't it be better just to get an iPad or a tablet that's just does all the stuff? And just like with the e-ink e-reader, it does feel so much better to read on these things than it does to when the light is being beamed into your eyes.
It is.
I don't know that I'm the market for. I don't know that I would get one. But yeah, they are really nice to read on. They really nice.
I had one when I moved. I have no idea where I put it, but you could stare at one of these things for days on end and not get even 10% of the eye strain you do looking at an active matrix screen, whether it's on your phone or desktop or a laptop.
Yeah, the whole idea of the Kindle has always been kind of weird to me, just because as a dead tree book reader, sure, the book itself really, I mean, unless there's animation or illustration rather, if you're looking at something that's more of like a comic book type thing, most of it is just black text on white paper. Mm-hmm. But you still have that feeling of, the cover, and there's some color there. So the Kindle experience, gosh, I don't even remember what Kindle version I have now, but it's definitely not the color one. And it never really bothered me, but it always felt a little like something was missing.
Yeah, I've got the Paperwhite, and I read on it probably 90% of the time. And the reason is because I actually read more away from the house than I do when I'm at it. So it's just for ease of use to take a tablet as compared to taking a book bag full of bags or a book bag full of books. Just easier to do.
Yeah.
Google's URL shortening tool goo.gl will officially stop working on August 25th, 2025, with all links in that format returning to a 404 error. Despite the service having been shut down in 2019, traffic to the shortened URL significantly declined, prompting Google to display warnings to users about the upcoming deprecation. And I used to use goo.gl a lot. I mean, all the links that I could shorten, I was using in that thing. And when they killed it in 2019, that kind of soured me from link shorteners that weren't like on my actual website where I've got a plugin running to do it, because my concern would always be this, that it gets shut down. And then what happens to all of those links? And this is back in the day when I thought that websites were going to be the way that people got their information forever. So of course you need to have a website with good links for 20 years on it. That's not necessarily so much the case anymore. But I thought this was pretty interesting that they shut it down in 2019, and it's just to, next month that it's going to be before they start giving those 404 errors.
Yeah, I mean, if Google shuts down the shortening tool, it's like, what is everybody using these days, if anything?
Bitly is probably the only one that I would kind of trust, maybe just because it's so big and they actually take people's money. So
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I try to make sure that the URL is as short as possible. And just like, they can take this and click on it. It's not gonna kill them. One thing that won't kill anyone unless you're really allergic to Legos and plastic. Lego has introduced the Game Boy model set. It's a near 1-to-1 scale, 421 piece brick-built replica of Nintendo's iconic handheld. The model also comes with 2 brick-built game packs. That means the cartridges, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, and Super Mario Land. Now, you can take those and slide into the back of the Lego model like you would, except that nothing would happen. There's no game to play. But if you want to kind of keep with the theme and the kind of look and feel, there comes with a couple of lenticular displays that you slide in where the screen is. And if you tilt the screen, it'll show you like 2 different views of that particular game. So you can sort of show off to people how cool you are because you have a Lego version of a video game console. The model goes on sale October 1st for $60.
Oh, I thought it was going to be more than that. The Lego thing, I'm not a parent, so I don't have kids who play with Legos.
These aren't parents that are buying them. Oh, maybe they are. But
totally.
You're not
but
getting these for kids.
I once was a child who played with Legos, but it was never a model that you were building. It was just a bunch of Legos and a big old pail. You just take them out sometimes and build something and then put them back, and there was always, a Lego that somebody would step on and my dad would get mad at me later. That's my Lego experience. It never really meant that you were trying to replicate anything. And I know that the Lego models are really different these days. I mean, we got Legoland. I mean, people are into Legos. So I can only imagine that the Game Boy model set would be, if you're into spending some time on a rainy afternoon, and also into and all things Nintendo, this would be perfect.
I was one of those kids that grew up that was really into Lego. At my mother's house somewhere, there is probably one of those big Rubbermaid totes, like those 50-gallon totes that is just full of Lego bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I was definitely into it. So I'm looking at this and it's like, I might have to make a purchase on accident here and then I could just
this is Lego's bread and butter now. They do not custom, but they do like model kits that are, they're marketed adults. They're not for kids, right? When you have a Fender Stratocaster model, you're not marketing that at a 10 or 9-year-old.
I mean, you could, as a parent, be like, "Hey, let's do this
you
together."
could.
But yes, you're
have
totally
a
right. This is nostalgia for adults.
They have a Seinfeld set. They have a Lego Seinfeld set that you buy. Maybe there might be a 10 or 9-year-old that's super into Seinfeld, but I have a feeling it's meant for the parents and adults.
I would say so. Well, if you're going to buy one of these, let us know. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Those are 3 stories that caught our eye today. And wait, there's more. All right, we haven't talked about home cleaning robots here on the show in a while. Today's the day. iRobot unveiled the Roomba Max 705 combo. So this is the roller mop equipped robovac, but also with a deployable mop cover designed to keep carpets dry. This is apparently a common issue with similar devices where people say, well, now my rugs are wet type thing. I don't have one of these, but I can only imagine that that's very frustrating. Also features edge-reaching mop extension, LiDAR navigation, an auto wash dock that offers heat mop cleaning, auto emptying for up to 75 days. Sounds great, right? It is 1,099 euros, which is around 1,292 US dollars, and only available in Europe for now, with launches in North America and Japan expected later this year. So says iRobot, the company. But I wanted to just sort of poll the group. Is this something that you want? Do you want the mop vacuum robot hybrid that does it all?
What I want, Sarah, is for the one that I already have to not get my freaking carpets wet. So maybe this is the answer to it, but I don't know if I'm in the market for it because I do have I don't know if it's Roomba. I think it's iRobot. I think it's I can't remember the name of it because I didn't buy it, but we have one that both sweeps and mops, and we just don't use the mop because it gets the carpet wet. It's such a hassle. It's like, you feel like you're just walking through where somebody spilled a bowl of cereal every time this thing would go out with water in it. So we stopped using it that way. So now it is just a very expensive regular robot vacuum because we don't use the other piece of it.
Yes, so, I have another friend who said the exact same thing to me this morning. I was like, does anybody use this? And she was like, yeah, the mop part of it was just messy. Like we just had soggy rugs all the time. So we just stopped using that and only used it as the vacuum. Now, when back in earlier Live With It days, I took on the task of having a Roomba in my house, and at the time my apartment was very small. I mean, it was a studio apartment, and so anytime I would just go out of the house, I don't know, I'm walking the dog or I'm getting groceries, I'm gonna be out of the house for like, let's call it an hour. I would run that thing, and it wasn't perfect. But it really made a difference. I basically just never vacuumed. I mean, I would here and there. But instead of having to vacuum once or twice a week, I would be like, house looks good. Roomba's doing its job. Of course, you have to empty the cartridge, et cetera, and it gets stuck under things sometimes. But it was great. Where I live now, the idea of having a mop, but also something that isn't going to get all of my area rugs wet, which would be an issue because there are lots of them. My whole house is hardwood floors. So, the hardwood floor that is exposed, it's like you kind of do need to not like mop it like super wet, but you need to clean it in a different way, right? A vacuum is not exactly perfect for that sort of stuff. But there's so many different areas on the floor. I just wonder. I don't know, Roger, what do you think?
So this is the thing, like they're so close to what I really want, and that what I want is like a robotic steam cleaner, like that can go through your carpets if you have wall-to-wall carpeting and do that, like do the initial vacuuming because you need to get rid of that first, and then go through and steam clean. Because I'll be honest, your carpets need to be steam cleaned, if not once a year, maybe every 2 to 3 years, because
carpets are disgusting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, if you could get that, I would totally be on board because, that's one thing I truly, truly hate doing is steam cleaning carpets, but you have to do it. Unless you like walking over whatever you've been walking over the past 5 years, dead skin and all that stuff.
Well, there's also, there's that, yes. But also, so I've got, a friend of mine lives in a house. He has a much bigger house than I do, but they have a sunken living room, right? It's like you go down 2 steps and then, that's sort of like the TV area, but everything else is up on a different level. And then there's an upstairs, which is a whole different thing. And he's like, oh, God, the Roomba's always, falling down the stairs. It's a whole thing. It really depends on your layout. Even in my house now, if I were to, I don't know, put all my dining room chairs on top of the dining room table just to make it easier, it's still going to get stuck somewhere. There's just a bunch of stuff in houses. And the whole promise that iRobot has about this particular one is kind of piggybacking on earlier promises, is like, we will understand if there's like a pet toy or a child toy, maybe a Lego, that's in the way, like the Roomba will know to go around it. If there's pet waste, oh my gosh, the Roomba should know to go around it. Just like, don't get involved. And so they really have come a long way with these robot assistants. And of course, iRobot is not the only company that's doing this. Dbot X8 Pro Omni, another robovac that gets high marks from The Verge, does something similar. But I just wonder, for anybody who's like, yep, this has worked for me, I would love to know, because all I really hear about from the sort of all-in-one robovac is that it's only really the vacuum that works.
So yeah, that was my experience. But I will say this. I didn't really want the robot vacuum when my kids were here, because there's always a shoe or a book bag or something that just throws it off. But now that it's pretty much just me and my wife, it does pretty good, because we've got on our first floor, it's hardwood floors except for the throw rugs that we have. And anyone who knows, if you've got hardwood floors, those things, they just are dust magnets. You just, it's not because you're dirty. It's just because that's just how dust works. The floors, attract the dust.
Yeah.
Your carpet, it kind of hides it. The hardwood floors is going to look like it's dusty. So it, although I would say only does it 90% to the level that my wife or I were actually, if you were to go through with the Swiffer and do it, it does pretty good. And you don't have to worry about somebody coming over and you got a layer of film on your floors because you didn't Swiffer before they got there. So for that, I really like it. So if they do have this one, because I do also want the carpets to be clean that are on the floor. So if this one really works and it, and it doesn't get those things wet, I could see maybe the next time we get one, which is probably years from now. I would imagine I probably got at least 5 to 7 years on the one that I have before I'm ready to go spend that kind of money again to get another one. So as long as they're working, then I would at least look at one that would clean the rugs. But I'm like you, Roger. I would love to have a robot that would just clean my carpets. But the problem is that I have carpet on one of the sets of stairs in the house. And I still am going to need the machine to do it. And if I want to have to pull the machine out to do my stairs, I might as well just go ahead and do the hallways that those stairs are connected to, because that's really all that I have carpeted at this point.
Yeah. All right. So back to office policies becoming more and more commonplace. Not for every company, but many companies are doing this. But the organizations that still offer remote work can also offer significantly reduced recidivism rates for incarcerated employees. So, Rob, let's talk about what this means.
So, Sarah, there's a really, really cool article over on TechCrunch, and it outlines a gentleman named Preston Thorpe, who is a drug offender, and he got a job as a full-time senior software engineer for Preshow while in a Maine prison after contributing hundreds of hours of open source coding work.
Maine the state.
Yeah, Maine the state.
Yeah.
And so he's in prison, but he's working for this company based out of San Francisco, a venture-backed company, as a senior engineer. So the CEO of Preshow, Glauber Costa, hired Thorpe unaware of his incarceration, which is part of a rehabilitative program championed by Maine's Commissioner Randall Liberty. The initiative focuses on addressing crime's root causes and a significantly reduced recidivism rates in Maine. So just to throw some numbers out, many states are experiencing a return to jail or return to custody rate as high as 60%. In Maine, it's already lower. Maine is 21 to 23% for men. It's about 9% for women. But here's where things get really interesting. If you are in prison in Maine and you go to college in Maine, the recidivism rate is 0.05%. Basically, you do not go back to jail if you actually go to college while you're in, while you're incarcerated. And
okay, so this is not going to college later. This is college while incarcerated.
While you're there. So Maine is really, a lot of things that we say about prisons that we want to, reform and rehabilitate. And that's not what most prisons do. Most prisons just incarcerate. They just lock you up and keep you there until you get out. And many, many, many times you come out worse than you were when you went in. So this commissioner in Maine, he actually, did some time, overseas and saw how, trauma and this and that and the other just affected people, came back as he is, is working as the commissioner of prisons in Maine. He said, you know what, we really need to work on getting our inmates to where they're not just looked at as inmates. They are full people in addition to that. And if we can get them some skills, we may be able to keep them when they do get out. We want to prepare them to go into the world and not come back here again. And Preston Thorpe is the poster child for this. So this dude has done so well in this program that the university that he went to in Maine actually asked him to be a adjunct professor while he is still incarcerated. So he's teaching classes and everything while he is incarcerated, and he actually has his students come in for office hours and things like that. It's really an impressive thing. So one of the things they're saying the program is doing is showing folks that, you aren't just what your conviction was for. You still are a full person, and you may be able to come back, because I think that a lot of people just blindly think that if you got locked up for one thing, when you come out, you were guilty of everything that everyone in the prison was locked up for. And that's really not it. You may have been in there for a nonviolent crime. You may have been, a drug addict, and, you got locked up. You were doing some things you shouldn't have been doing, and you have to pay the penalty for that. But instead of preparing you to come out into the world and be a productive, citizen again, they just basically just hold you until you get out, and you come out in many cases, as I said earlier, in worse cases than you were. So this seems to be a really, really, really good program with how low the recidivism rate is for folks who go through it.
Well, and I mean, in Thorpe's case, the idea, so, okay, he's locked up for a drug offense. That's one part of this. But to get a job as a senior software engineer full time for this company while incarcerated, and I mean, I assume that he's in some sort of minimum security prison where he has access to a computer quite a bit. But to be able to do that is, I mean, what a great way to, go get back into, the reentry of life. You're contributing to life while still in rehabilitation.
This is a regular full-time job, like anyone that is not in prison would go out and get. Like we said, the CEO of the company that hired him didn't realize that he was actually incarcerated until actually they went through the hiring process. Like, hey, I will never be able to come, for an on site because
cannot come to the meeting in person.
But the thing is, one of the things that they're doing in Maine is that they really are trying to rehabilitate you. So the better behavior you have, you get more privileges. So he is in a, in the part of the prison that this person is in, they have a lot of freedom. They are still incarcerated and they still are inmates and they still are locked up. But it's like, if you're doing good things in here and you're not causing problems, we're going to allow you to go to school. We're going to allow you to have a bit more freedom. We're going to allow you to, during the day, you can actually go get a work. Or get a job. So one of the things that Preston Thorpe was doing was Terso actually had an open source project. He was just working on the open source project because he loves coding. He loves trying to figure out how to, solve these problems. And he was so good. He literally, I think they said that he was a prolific coder on this open source project. It's like, this dude is really good. Maybe we want to get him, here full time to work on this all the time. And that's kind of how it got to him, getting hired, was because he was just contributing to an open source project in the free time that he had because of the program that he's in the prison in the main system.
I mean, this is a continuation of things that different states have tried in terms of kind of worked rehabilitation. So I know a while back in Arizona, they used to have a program for medium to low security inmates where you would literally work on restoring a car and you would get paid through the prison. Of course, you wouldn't get the full amount since your income would be skimmed off to pay for whatever, if like you owed money or back child support. But I mean, these things work, but they also require a lot of commitment. And typically that requires resources, but also a system that allows people to move from an incarcerated environment into one where they can be productive. Oftentimes it's sort of like, yeah, we'll educate you, but we don't give you anything outside of that, or we let you learn a particular trade, but we won't let you leverage any of that, either because the system doesn't allow for it, or more likely, employers tend to be very gun shy about hiring anyone who's done any significant amount of time. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a cultural bias. And what's telling is that Costa did not know that Thorpe was incarcerated. If they knew beforehand, I'm wondering if that situation would have been a little different.
I think probably it would have. That's just my guess. At this point, it sounds like, he's a great engineer.
That's the thing. It's like
that's just you're doing good work. But you're right, Roger. It's like, felony charge. There's so many reasons that someone will just not get a chance to do something that they're actually really good at.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things when you think about, prison, as I said earlier, you may just have a idea about someone who was locked up that they were guilty of every crime of every criminal who was in the prison. That's generally how we look at, folks who come out of the system, which makes it so hard for them when they come out. So what this is doing is allowing these folks to actually get gainful employment after they've gotten skills to get that gainful employment. And they're working and they're productive. And because of that, the violence in the prisons goes down. The amount of times they come back in goes down. And then when they get out, they've got something to go do. It's like, one of the reasons that a lot of people go back in is because when they get out, there's literally nothing for them. They can't find a job. They can't find a place to stay. There's all these things that happen because they were locked up. And it's just like this cycle where what Commissioner Randall Liberty is doing here is trying to figure out, well, how can we break the cycle? What can we do to, take these, these inmates who are going to go back into the real world at some point? Can we give them a skill set that will keep them from coming back in here and be productive when they get out there? And in the case of Preston Thorpe, I should say, it seems like it has worked exceptionally well. I want to say there's 37 inmates who are doing something similar out of this one wing of this prison. So it seems to be a very successful program.
I mean, I don't know. I know, state laws vary, but this main situation seems to be a really good model for other states as well.
Yeah, and I do want to kind of emphasize that like everyone's different, and what works for certain individuals does not work across the board, which means that a lot of these programs can't be very regimented in how they do things if they want to achieve a certain level of success, because you need to understand, does this person come from an environment where there's just a lot of bad and negative influences that sort of keep them from achieving what they want to achieve? Are there extenuating services? There's a lot of things, and I think one of the big issues I've always had with the prison system is it's just very binary on how they treat people, and it's not as I don't want to use the word flexible, but it's not. It tends to see things in very just clear-cut manners instead of the shades of gray.
I wouldn't call it flexible, the prison system.
Yes.
Not a thing I would call it.
Well, folks, if you've got feedback about anything that gets brought up on the show, get in touch with us on the socials at DTNS Show on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon is mstdn.social. For TikTok and YouTube, you can just find us at Daily Tech News Show.
Earlier this summer, YouTube head Neil Mohan promised that generative AI video would make its way to the platform, and seems like they're making good on that promise, right, Roger?
Yeah, starting today, YouTube Shorts is rolling out a number of generative AI features for creators. One of the big ones is photo to video. This essentially takes a static photo that you have in your camera roll and makes it into a video. Users can add movement to landscape photos, animate pictures of everyday photos, as well as bring group shots. So if there's like a bunch of people, like say like some sort of reunion, you could have them do something that they weren't actually doing in the photo. Now, along with that, they're adding new generative effects, which you can add to those videos. So it can make it seem like, hey, you're just walking around and suddenly you're underwater, or hey, you want to make it seem like you're just walking around in space. If you can see on the screen right now, they have a little demo of a crossing guy signal being animated, but it's kind of cool, and it is very very accessible, because these are all going to be built into the app. Now, any of these apps that you see, or any of the features that you see, will be based off VO2, not the newer VO3 model. So don't expect to see the same level of sophistication that you've seen with VO3.
But how many people even know the difference? I know we talk about it, but it's like, is someone going to be like, look, it's the walk signal, on a crosswalk, but that's only VO2.
There's definitely going to be a novelty effect. I mean, YouTube says they will bring VO3 to Shorts later in the summer, but I mean, we're already halfway through summer, so we'll see how later is. YouTube will also feature a new AI playground, which is essentially a hub that will be a home for all the AI tools, including some help and examples of how the tools work to make new videos, music, and music, videos, and images. Now, the company also mentioned it's using SynthID watermarks. So anytime you generate any kind of image, video, or
then
stuff,
it's known that you did it.
Yeah, it will be watermarked with that.
Yeah.
These features will be coming out over the next week to users in the U.S., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Additional regions will be added throughout the year. Now, Google Photos is also launching a photo to video feature using the same VO2 engine, but it will be done and accessed through the Google Photos app, and you will have slightly fewer options for animations, because this is Google Photo and not YouTube Shorts. But if you want it, you can check that out as well. I am curious to know if this will be sort of the way people treated a lot of the stickers, the filters, and all the other fun stuff when Instagram first popped out. And then at some point, people are like, all right, I'm done. Let me just strip all of it away, and then I'll hashtag it no filter.
Right. Okay. Yes.
They've achieved some sort of level of social media enlightenment.
I get what you're going for here, because I feel the same thing. It's like, we all talk about like AI fatigue, but at the same time, it's changing and evolving so rapidly that it's like we just have to think about it. I mean, we as tech reporters have to do that. But when it comes to just generating creative things, it's like, all right, I take a photo. Talking about Google Photos, it's like, all right, I take a photo and now I can make it a video with an AI tool. Who is that for? Is it for fun? If it's for fun, great. Is it for work? If it's for work, then it's like, all right, well, how many seconds do I get? And, it's like there's so many questions to be asked about this. When it comes to YouTube, I think the YouTube behemoth that it is so big now that we just can't ignore that it's pretty much the way that everybody watches everything these days. So then it becomes, okay, with creativity, and YouTube is saying, we're going to make it clear when something is AI generated so it doesn't fool you. It's not about fooling people, but you're just going to get a lot of crazy stuff. I don't think that's inherently bad. No, but I think it gets messy. It gets messy really quickly.
I think there's two parts of this. So, Roger, to your point, yes, I absolutely do believe that this is going to be like filters back in the day. Eventually, folks are going to get tired of them and they'll kind of move on from them. But the other part of this is that I don't know how much Instagram was learning off of people using filters other than people like these filters. I think that Google's going to absolutely take some training data from the myriads of people who are going to be in Google Photos, who are going to be on YouTube Shorts, that are creating stuff to ultimately make the product better on the other side of it. I think also this is Google's model here is they've always kind of been a freemium type of play. Gmail is free for 15 gigs. If you want more than that, then you pay. And Google Photos is free up to 15 gigs. If you want more than that, then you pay. And I think it's going to be the same thing here. And there will be people who maybe wouldn't have ordinarily have looked at something, but they are a user of Google Photos. They do create YouTube Shorts and like, oh, I didn't know I could do this. And then they kind of get into it. And some of those folks are going to upgrade their account so that they can actually get more time. They can make videos longer than 8 seconds, that they can make more than 5 videos a day. Because I think there's a cap on the number that you can do per day, on the free level of this. And I do believe that that's ultimately what's going to come down. You will see people doing it. It'll kind of wear out on many folks after a while, but some folks will get into it enough to where they actually will go and upgrade their accounts so they can create even more content. Go ahead and cut.
Oh, no. I was going to say, like, it's interesting you say that because I see this as being the most threatening to people who do like image macros where they do the they take the picture of someone and they add the kind of like caption underneath and you make a meme out of it. This is stuff that I think will be just spread as memeable things initially before people get a stronger hold on it. But people are gonna see a deluge of this stuff within the next year. Like you can't go to any social media platform without seeing something generated out of this.
But I feel like we're already there. It's like everything on, Instagram, for example, it's like, the people who are on Instagram to be content creators, like, I mean, I'm like one of those people who's like, I throw up a photo every once in a while, whatever. Like, that's not, I'm not trying to make money off of this, but a lot of people do, and they're good at it. And, everything now is, a mixture of music and text on screen, and then, content creator telling a story or whatever. It's like, it's very formulaic. And not everybody has to do exactly the same thing, exactly the same way, but it's like you get fatigued by this. You see enough of these and you're like, okay, everyone's doing the same thing. And I just wonder how much AI is going to break that mold. Is it going to?
No, I don't think it will. I think that, people will get like with this, they'll get like they have been with everything else. It's like eventually you're going to get tired of it because you keep saying the same thing over and over again. It's like, and that's where the boredom comes in. And YouTube knows that. Google knows that. So Google's goal is to get as many eyeballs on as many hours of content as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. So if they put these tools out here and it actually bumps the number up for the amount of consumption hours that happens, that's a good thing for them, because you can be sure that on videos, at least, they're going to be putting ads all across this stuff. The other part of this too is that I wonder, because they are going to be putting the synth ID headers in this in this metadata. Will Google say, "Oh, that's AI generated. We're not going to monetize that"? I wonder what the I wonder how that's going to work, because they've already told you when it comes to AI slop, they are just not going to pay you for that crap that gets out there. So I do wonder off of this kind of stuff if you will see, no, this is not monetizable because it's got this
they get
synth
their
ID.
cake and they have their cake and they can eat it too.
And is there like a gamified way to get around that? I don't know.
Well,
I'm
these
sure
tools,
someone's going to do their best.
the short answer is absolutely yes. You can get around it, but not inside these tools. There would be no benefit for Google to allow you to get around it in the free tools that they're giving you. And that's where probably 98% of the people who ever do this kind of stuff are going to do it in the free stuff. So they weren't really concerned about making money off of it in the first place. But the ones who are might think twice about, I don't know if I want to do that inside of Google's tools, just because I know it's going to stick these headers in there, and that may make my content easily flaggable, and it may, affect my monetization strategy.
Well, I know that I'm the iOS person in the group today, but kind of a big deal. Apple released public betas for iOS 26, iPadOS 26, macOS Tahoe 26, watchOS 26, tvOS 26. You're sensing a theme. Yes, everything is now 26. That's, what Apple announced earlier this year that it was going to do with rollouts going forward for software. It introduced a new design language called Liquid Glass, which is supposedly translucent and Vision OS inspired, basically a UI revamp. The updates also are supposed to include a simplified versioning system, obviously, iOS 26 at all, with all platforms adopting that same suffix to align with model year style naming. So I went ahead and really weirdly this morning, my phone, because I'm in the beta program, it was like, oh, new version of iOS 18. Do you want to install? And I was like, yeah, do it. So I did. And then I saw this article from The Verge, like Apple released, iOS 26. And I was like, is that what I installed earlier? No, it wasn't. But it was an option to me where I was like, why did you just not give me that option? Fine. Anyway, at one point, it said, this will be installed in 14 hours. And I was like, holy moly, what is happening here? Then it quickly became 14 minutes, probably a beta bug. Oh. But anyway, I've got it installed now. And I will say it doesn't look that different at all. The whole, liquid, like you think like liquid glass, like, oh, it's going to look so different. Like everything's going to be melting. No, it really doesn't look any different at all. The icons are barely different. But for anybody who's, and I'm only talking about iOS right now because I'm on my phone. If you go to the phone app, it is remarkably different. And it is designed to, filter out all that much more spam. If somebody calls you, you don't know them. Maybe it's not spam, but you don't know. A filter to kind of like make sure that you know who it is before you end up answering the phone. That's kind of cool. Camera app, pretty different as well. They've really simplified the experience until you want to drill down into other features. I don't know. I don't know, Rob and Roger, the last time you ever saw especially for a mobile device, an update where you were like, wow, this is like crazy different. Because I don't think this is.
It isn't. This is just a return to what iOS 6 used to do, which is a very kind of skeuomorphic design element, which is to make aspects of it seem very more of like a virtual replication of the actual thing that it's doing.
Well, I wouldn't call this skeuomorphic though. I would call this I don't know. It just looks like some graphic designer had some fun. That's what I would say.
So here's my question for you, Sarah, because I know that you are kind of a first adopter of this. You're in the beta program because you talk about this stuff on DTNS. You talk about this stuff on Apple Vision, show. Is this something? Is this beta upgrade? Is a generally in general is a beta upgrade something that you would recommend regular folks upgrade to, or should they just wait until the actual release comes out?
I never recommend that anybody upgrades to any beta version, just because it's like it's gonna be wonky. That's the point, right? Like the beta versions just tend to be wonky. I mean, sometimes they're fine, but you tend to see, like I saw weird stuff earlier where I was like, why is it doing this?
I mean,
you know,
this
that's
totally
that's the
looks
deal.
skeuomorphic. I mean, based on the images, because I don't actually have an iPhone, but I'm basing it on the press releases that Apple, and then maybe you could squeeze in a little bit of Frutiger design elements into it. But I mean, it just looks like they're going back after what 8-10 years of flat visual design.
Well,
I
so isn't that funny though? Because it's like everything was skeuomorphic at one point, right? When we were getting used to the ideas of apps on a flat screen. It's like, the notebook looks like a notebook that you would open up with paper, and a pen, that kind of thing. Then it became flat design. And that was, I feel like Google championed that more than Apple did. And that was kind of the whole thing. And now it's kind of like, well, how do we differentiate ourselves?
It's just like fashion. It comes in waves, right? Like people like
that's
one
very
thing
much,
and then they get tired of it and they move on to the next thing.
Nothing's new. Parachute pants are back in style. Those things that were like, I don't know about you guys, but living in the Midwest, it gets cold here in the wintertime, and parachute pants, you freeze when you're wearing. But yeah, they brought those back. My daughter was on a mission to try to find some parachute pants because she wants to go out, with her friends before she goes back to college. She wants to have parachute pants. So I say that to say this. I think that the eventually these things are going to come around. That Apple probably looks at, well, what have we done before that really worked well? It's been long enough that we can maybe do it again. And for folks who never saw it the first time around, are going to be like, oh yeah, this is really cool. And just get people, to talk about this sheet of glass with buttons you can't fill that people are going to press and spend most of their waking hours looking at.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. And it's important to remember that, for iOS specifically, it's like the whole liquid glass design really only applies to Apple's native apps. Of all the other, I don't even want to tell you how many hundreds of apps I have on this phone, but it's like they don't look they kind of look different, but it's really not something that is very dramatic. What is dramatic is within some of the apps themselves. And, I'll play around with this a little bit more and have some more thoughts, because this is only something that I downloaded a couple of hours ago. But yeah, it's being touted as like big deal. And I'm like, is it?
Sure. I mean, if you listen, any press is good press unless it's really bad press. But it's,
True.
I mean, this is the thing. It's hard to believe that an entire generation grew up with the iPhone being like that's your default phone, right? Like they don't remember flip phones. They don't remember dial-up phones or touch-tone phones. So it only makes sense that at some point you just kind of like, yeah, they don't remember because they weren't around. So we'll just redo it and then pretend like it's a new thing. I mean, it is a new thing, and I don't want to discredit the amount of work and skill that's involved. But I mean, this is like car design. Like we're going to go back and look at what Harley Earl did in the 30s and 40s with Buick, and we're going to try to replicate design elements of that in the 90s and 2000s, and so on and so on. You borrow a little, you remix what you got, and you come up with something vaguely new.
iPhone's been out a long time. If you think about it, I think I got my first
almost 20
mobile
years.
phone. My first mobile phone. My mother had the phone in a bag in the car way back in the early 90s. But my first cell phone, I think I got when I first got into corporate, like in 96 or 97. And the iPhone came out 10 years after that. So most of the time that phones have been a thing, iPhone has been a thing. So eventually they were going to come back to something that they were already doing.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts on everything we talk about on the show. And in that vein, let's check out the mailbag. If you plan on flying this summer, flying in an airplane with a power bank to keep your phone charged during a flight, our friend Chris Christensen has some important news for you.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. There are some restrictions that you're going to see if you're flying this summer with a power bank, that is, with an external battery that you use to charge your phone. In China, for instance, on a recent press trip, 3 of us had a total of 5 different power banks that were pulled out of our suitcases, and 4 of them were confiscated. Confiscated because they weren't approved for flight. For China in domestic flights, there's a new CCC that you're going to expect to see in your power bank. Ironically, all the ones confiscated were made in China. The only one given back was one made in Europe. And then even so, you're not going to be able to use a power bank on the flight. In the US, with flights recently, I've been told if you're using a power bank, it has to be in view. So be aware of these new restrictions that are coming. They may come to other countries as well. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's good to know. I mean, for those of us who are like, power is very important, having a power bank is, it's pretty common. And to have that in view, again, I don't fly as much as I used to, so I don't know. I don't know how it varies between airlines, but yeah, no, that's good intel. Thank you, Chris.
My wife just got on a flight yesterday to go to France for a girls' trip, and I had to remind her, make sure you keep that thing in the bag you have on you. Don't even put it in the overhead up top anymore. Just keep it with you, so if there's an issue, you can find it pretty quick. But also, Robert has some thoughts on a discussion about using Wi-Fi detecting a person's presence. And Robert writes, 95% accuracy when I walk in the room got me thinking, what's the next step to get me to 100%? I got my older devices in my backpack that I'm walking around with that are sending and receiving something, Bluetooth trackers, Insta360 camera that seems to always be on when I pull it out of the backpack, terrible button placement, etc. Wouldn't the next step be to be able to say that's this guy because he's radiating all these waves? How's that work? Do all the watches and phones send the same waves?
So good question, Robert. I think based on our discussion earlier this week about Wi-Fi, basically radio waves, being able to say like, that's Sarah, and later on, like, yeah, no, that's Sarah again, because we know what she, what she looks like and what her gait is, and this and that. I don't think your devices are a real issue here. If you're carrying around stuff, I mean, we're all carrying around stuff. This is more of a Wi-Fi network saying whether you're connected to the internet or not, we're gaining information on how you operate.
Mm-hmm. I guess the best way to understand it is imagine you're in a room, like you're in a lighting store, and you walk in a room and suddenly, it's surrounded by lamps shining light. You walk through it, you're going to block some of those lamps. So you're going to notice whether or not you're directly looking at it. Hey, the light suddenly got dim. Someone must have walked in front of a lamp. So what this system actually does is notice changes in some of the packets and the way that they get understood. So they'll notice something is there. It's like, it's like walking through a lamp store and you're blocking some light. It's like, oh, all right, that's it. They also run on different frequencies, so they wouldn't necessarily be interfering unless someone actually found something to block the entire spectrum, and then you have different issues.
This is what this story got me thinking about. That, and I know that the technology is different, but in Dark Knight, when Batman built that, that thing with all the screens, that Morgan Freeman was really upset with him for building it. He said he was invading, too many people's privacy. But basically, all the mobile devices everywhere are sending out pings and basically making like a radar. Or some type of profile to where you could actually see who people were, what they were doing, and all that kind of stuff. This is what I thought about. I know it's very different, but that's kind of what I think about with this. So, Roger, to your point, it's like you don't need to actually have the device on you. You just walk in and you're interrupting the waves in a way that is able to recognize you 90% of the time, which is pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's at some point someone might have a suit that just soaks it all up, like a stealth suit, and you just walk through and you don't. It's
like a personal cloak.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stealth suit that soaks it all up. There's a Roomba joke in there somewhere. I can't figure it out right now. But if you have one or you have any thoughts on anything we talked about today, remember you can send in your comments to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Of course, if you're a patron, you can comment on anything we post to Patreon as well. We read everything. So thank you in advance for all of your feedback.
And
So folks, during the show, you've been submitting your show titles over at dtns.showbot.tv, and we've got a bunch of submissions over there today. So let's just start off right at the top with the Reverb mics. Short links have no reason. It's a good one.
Oh.
If only the Roomba could also cook by JPEG84. I like that.
true.
I mean, that's what I'm waiting for. That's
mean-
what I'm waiting for.
I'll be honest. When they have an automated or robotic chef that really does it, where you're not having to pre-peel your potatoes, you got to chop up. It does it all for you. You just drop your bag of groceries into the hopper and you go watch like 2 hours of something on YouTube or whatever streaming service, and your dinner's ready. That's when we've known we've crossed the threshold from mere, computers as mere implements into like the next stage of evolution.
Yeah.
The Rafe 86 it's got one that I like. Is your robot vac a rug redder?
Aw.
Mine is. We had to put it on timeout. It doesn't get water anymore. So
Clinton Woodward's true egg crime.
that's a good one too.
Yeah.
Retro
True.
iOS design is back. C-Spoon.
It kind of is. I mean, kind of. It is and it isn't. I don't know.
Oh, the
I have to play
short
around with this a
life
little bit
of
more.
link shorteners from Lion Jim Video.
I gotta say, I really did feel some kind of way when goo.gl went away, and it scarred me. Like I said, I probably haven't created 10-bit links since 2019 when that thing was gone. But Sarah, what did we decide to go with for today?
Well, we went with the Reverb mics, remote work in prison.
Awesome.
All right,
Well,
so
that's good work. The Reverb back and good work, Twitch chat room. I want to give a shout out to everyone who's been supporting us, including AJ Fine for resubscribing with Prime. They've been subscribed for 48 months. Footwitch 666 resubscribed with Prime. They've been subscribed for 16 months. Zoe Brings Bacon being awesome as always, cheering us on with bits. Tom says, Go Chiefs, resubscribed with Prime, and they've been subscribed for 26 months. DJ Fission, who cheered us on with 125 bits. Thank you very much. And then Shirley Revive Zanoni, who followed us on Daily Tech News Show. Thank you, one and all.
Folks, if you'd like a recap of the week's tech headlines with insights into how technology affects and disaffects African Americans, then check out the Check John, where hosts myself, Stephanie Humphrey, and Terrence Gaines dive into the top tech stories of the week, delivered from points of view you don't necessarily hear in mainstream media. New episodes drop on Tuesday afternoons. Find it wherever you get your podcast or visit the Tech, JAWN, that's the techjohn.com.
And a quick
And
shout out to Scotty for a Patreon raise because I forgot to squeeze him in. Thank you so much, Scotty. Every little bit helps, and we're always grateful when people support us.
Beam Scotty up. Thank you, Scotty. You can watch us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is 2000 UTC, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We're back doing it all again tomorrow with Shannon Morse joining us, talking about AI slop and bug bounties, along with Len Peralta drawing the top tech stories. We'll see you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.